people will ask me or say, I think I saw you riding your bike on the street. Was that you? To which, of course, I will say to them, yeah, that was me. You see, cycling is kind of a new thing for me, which started right about this time 2 years ago when our world shut down because of the pandemic. And I found myself kind of growing a little bit antsy with just kind of being restricted, not being able to go out, not being able to do a whole lot. But I had this new bike that I had bought in January that I thought I wasn't going to be able to use until the weather got nicer, and then everything shut down. I thought even less chances. But I used it nonetheless. And it kind of became a salvation for me during this pandemic. I got really serious about riding my bike. Exercise is not something that has been a huge part of my life beforehand. I mean, I would exercise, usually at the start of the new year, and usually right before I would have my annual visit with my doctor, thinking that if I did a little exercise, I'll hear good news. And of course, I never did, and I would get discouraged and I would stop. But 2 years ago, I started exercising and realizing the benefits in that. And as I did that, I became more committed, and I realized that I began to make changes in my life to accommodate this new thing of exercising, of cycling. I found myself doing things like, at the beginning of every week, I would look at the forecast for the week ahead to see which would be the best days for me to go cycling. I'd look, of course, at the temperature of the day, but I would also look at where the winds will be blowing from, because I want to ride out in the headwind when I have the most strength and not the other way around, to ride back in a headwind when I'm tired. I found myself also really paying attention to how I schedule my days. I'm going to let out a big secret here. I'm probably going to be in trouble for it, or I'm going to regret it. I found myself scheduling things I needed to do earlier in the day and later in the day as well, too, so that around midday, I'd have the time to be able to go out for a ride. I also found myself paying attention to nutrition, to what I put in my body. Because there were times that I would find myself in the middle of a ride and just running out of steam because I did not anticipate and prepare well by having something nutritious before my ride. And I found myself paying attention to sleep, realizing the importance of giving time for my body to recover by getting enough sleep. All of these changes were brought about by my belief that exercise is good, and in my joy of cycling. Today we have the beautiful gospel story of the man born blind. And it would be very easy for us to see this merely as a miracle story, but that is never the case in the Gospels. There's always something more at play here. And in reality, this story is not about the man born blind, because if you look at the whole story, you realize that we hear mostly about the blind man at the beginning and at the end of the story. Most of the story is about what happens in between. Most of the story is really not about the blind man, but it's about everybody who has a hard time believing that the blind man can now see. We have the Pharisees, who find it hard to believe that this man can now see, even though they knew him to be a blind man. That now he can see. But their religious practices got in the way of believing because Jesus had healed him on the Sabbath. And so we see them go through these great exercises trying to disprove Jesus and his miracle. They went through all the hard work of trying to say that surely this man wasn't born blind. That's the reason why he can see now. Much easier to do that than to accept that Jesus is the Son of God. We see the parents. The parents who literally throw their son under the bus. The parents who had a hard time believing that their son could now see, because in reality what they were now facing was a completely different person. They knew their son as a man born blind. Now their son was a man with sight. He was a completely different person, which meant their relationship with him had to change. But much easier for them to deny that that is truly their son than to accept that Jesus did something wonderful. We have the villagers who also have a hard time believing because they know this man born blind. They've known him since his childhood. They have all that past in their knowledge from which they kind of rule their lives and their perceptions. And they have a hard time changing that history or kind of altering their thoughts, which is to leave some of those things they knew behind because now there was a new truth. And we have even the synagogue itself, the religious and cultural institution of their time, who also failed to believe that this man had experienced the grace and love and mercy of God in Jesus. And much easier to expel him from the synagogue than to believe. You see, my friends, during this season of Lent, all of us are asked to look into ourselves and to ask ourselves, do we believe? Do we believe that this person that we proclaim, that we celebrate every Sunday here, truly is the Son of God? I know we want to say right away, of course I believe that's Jesus. I know I believe in Jesus. I was baptized. But my friends, belief and faith in Jesus, it's much deeper than just saying, I believe. Belief in Jesus really means altering and changing our lives so that we can accommodate the person of Jesus in us. We too, my friends, will struggle in our belief of Jesus throughout our faith life. We will struggle with it even with things like our religious practices. How can religious practices get in the way of our belief? Well, my friends, if we're doing religious practices but we don't truly believe that this is Jesus, something is wrong here. Religious practices come out of our belief, not the other way around. We can struggle with our belief, my friends, as well, too, just like the parents in the story. Because belief in Jesus means becoming a whole new person. Fundamentally, we are changed. And more than that, fundamentally, everyone else changes too, whether they're believers or not. Because now, if we believe in Jesus, we also have to see everyone as a child of God, and not as our enemies, not as our competitors, not as people who have hurt us, but as children of God. Our belief in Jesus can find struggles as well too, my friends, like the villagers. We too live lives that are filled with all kinds of history in us. History in us that informs our conscience, which influences our actions and our words. And so we know what it means to be hurt when someone offends us. I believe in Jesus, but I don't know if I believe this forgiveness stuff. I can't do that because I've been hurt, and I know what that's like. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Our belief in Jesus, again, can even be debilitated by cultural and religious institutions, even our church itself. The church has hurt a lot of people throughout its history and even in our own times. The church has hurt so many people in the sexual abuse crisis, both those who have been the victims of sexual abuse, as well as all good people of faith who have been scandalized by this atrocity. We struggle as well with how the church treats other groups of people, people in the LGBTQ community, people who are divorced and remarried, just to name a few. Those things can get in the way again of our believing that truly this is the Son of God. And what today's story, my friends, invites us to do is to do the hard work of letting go of all those challenges that get in the way. Because merely they're distractions, really, to truly getting at what is the essence of what we should be all about. It's about believing in Jesus, that he truly is the Son of God, that he is the one that brings healing to our lives, that he is the one that actually can reconcile our histories. He is the one that can help us find a new path as a new person. He is the one that can help convert our religious practices so that they are in the right order and that they really truly are an extension of our belief. And he is the one that can transform our church so that it really is truly nothing but a source of goodness and blessings in our lives and the lives of all believers. But first, we have to believe. Let go of all those things getting in our way and truly believe that, yes, this is the Son of God. It may seem like a lot of hard work, my friends, but it's much easier to believe than to disbelieve, as we saw all those people in the gospel story, the great lengths they went to not believe. It's as easy as believing that that person that looks like your pastor on a bike, it is him.